Hockey Talk Show for this Wednesday, February 28th, and welcome in. We have maybe the craziest hockey save I've ever seen. But was it a save at all? We've got a new signing to talk about today and some new sightings. Speaking of sightings, we sighted a billboard outside of the Barclays Center. Two, to be in fact. Two billboards outside of Barclays Center. That could be nominated for an Oscar next year. And speaking of boards, where's the draft board going to be come 2019? We now know, and we'll talk about it all on the Hockey Talk Show. Welcome in, bring it in close. Bring it in close for the real thing. Hockey Talk Show on this Wednesday, February 28th. Got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. It's really nice. I went through a little panic like, oh, the trade deadline's over. What are we going to talk about now? But there is a whole slew of news to get into on this episode of the Hockey Talk Show. Wherever you're watching and listening, however you're consuming, thanks so much for doing that. Truly do appreciate it. Want to thank everybody for the continual support of the Hockey Talk Show. It's been fantastic, and I can't wait to finish out the. First of all, I can't believe how fast this season has gone. I mean, we were looking forward to the trade deadline for so long because there were so many great trade rumors out there, and now it's come and gone. And much like Christmas, it's a little depressing. But you know what? We got the finals, the playoffs, and everything else to get into, and I am just super excited to be here and chatting it all up with you guys each and every single day on the Hockey Talk Show. Remember to follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Hockey Talk Show, and of course on the YouTube and Facebook Live. HockeyTalkShow.com has links to all of this information. We got a lot of little things to get into, like I said, and I really don't know where to start. Any questions you have, throw it up there in the chat, Facebook and YouTube. Let me know you guys are in the room and what you think. I do know that we wanted to discuss, and we're going to discuss, the disappointment of some of the general managers in the trade deadline. I know we did a lot of that yesterday, but I feel like it is a little bit of a bigger topic and pretty interesting to me. You know, again, now being 2 days removed from the deadline, seeing who did what and who failed to do flat out anything. I'm a little surprised, you know, again, putting a little bit more space into it, how bad some of these moves and non-moves were. But I think we're going to save that for tomorrow's show. Also want to preview up tomorrow's show a little bit for you. We're going to get into Seattle. We're going to talk NHL expansion on tomorrow's show. I'm really, really excited to get into expansion. Again, something new, always very cool. And I'm excited about it. So we'll talk about it here on the Hockey Talk Show. Where should we start? Danny, welcome in. What a game by Rick Nash and the Wingles last night. Wingles had a coming out party. What did he put 2 in? I saw 2. I don't know if he had any more than that, but I saw him put 2 in, and honestly, play a damn good game from start to finish. From what I saw, I was watching a bunch of the highlights as they were going on, and Wingles was fun to watch. Man, new life. We talk about this. We've mentioned it a little bit. New life for some of these guys. You know, you talk about trading for Rick Nash. Is he going to be there for you? Is it going to work? Does even making a trade make a difference for your team? And as we can see, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. Wingles was like a man possessed last night. Sometimes maybe not always a good difference. Let's start over in St. Louis, talking about the St. Louis Blues and the deal that they made. You can see right there, brothers in arms, Stastny and Braden Shen. And Braden Shen not excited about the Paul Stastny trade. We talked about the boost that some of the teams get from a deadline deal and how that can pick your team up. Obviously, that's happening with the Flyers and Peter Mrazek. Braden Shen going the other way, saying, quote, "It's crazy. 1 or 2 points out Move a guy that does a lot for us. But at the end of the day, that's their decision. So that was Braden Shen's take on it to Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic. Quote, "It's crazy. 1 or 2 points out. Move a guy that does a lot for us." Obviously not liking the fact that Stastny was traded. And again, not only traded away from the team, but traded to an out-and-out competitor. I mean, somebody that, by all intents and purposes, they were looking at playing against in the playoffs. So it was, I liked the fact that Braden Shen showed some emotion and spoke out against management there and said, hey, this is crazy. Why would you make these moves? You want your players to be upset about that kind of thing. I thought it was a great move for him. I thought it showed a lot of character for him to speak up and be upset. In the same token, you look around and you do see the Winnipeg Jets and you see the Vegas Golden Knights and you see the Nashville Predators. And at the same time that I'm happy that Shen speaks up and is upset about the trade, I kind of see a franchise here that looks around and says to themselves, you know what? We don't have what Nashville has. We don't have what Winnipeg has. We don't have what the Vegas Golden Knights have. Maybe this year is not our year. Let's regroup. Let's pick up a pick for Stastny. And let's go back into this next season and figure out, how we can get ourselves better a little bit farther down the line. I think a lot of teams were thinking a lot more along these lines this season, i.e. the Rangers, so on and so forth, where they're like, not our year, man. Just not our year. Just barely eking in and getting destroyed in the first round, not ideal for us. Now, again, I don't know if this is really the message that St. Louis is sending, but it's kind of one that you can see. Darren Dreger reported about the St. Louis Blues that they are going to be all in on John Tavares. Again, I think we're going to have plenty of time to delve into the John Tavares saga. I think it's going to become a main storyline in the league moving into the playoffs. And of course, as soon as the Stanley Cup final is over, if Tavares has not re-signed, which I think he's taken it this far, like Stamkos, he'll go to that 5-day period where he can talk to other teams. That's going to be a huge story. So I'm going to be touching on this, as we should be, but also with the caution, just like we were cautious about trade rumors, in November, that there's going to be so much time to talk about this, and we don't want to beat a dead horse, too far in advance. But Darren Dreger is already reporting that the St. Louis Blues are going to be all in on John Tavares. And although that makes a lot of sense to me, and I understand where they're going, obviously you get rid of Stastny and you're going to have a couple other guys coming off of the cap, but I don't really see much of the space there for the St. Louis Blues. If you go and look at their numbers on Cap Friendly, they're not going to be one of the teams that has a whole ton of space. A lot to offer playing with Vladdy Tarasenko and, some of their other guys, but and I'm sure they'll be in on it. But I think, teams like San Jose, Vegas, Montreal, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be willing to throw 10, 12 million at John Tavares. And I just don't know if St. Louis is at the top of that list. Although they may have a good 8, 9 million to offer, they might be able to squeeze that out. I think it'll lead to some deficiencies elsewhere in their team, unless they move some contracts out in the offseason, which is entirely possible. Entirely possible. Uncle Buck with a great point. Game winner in Hartman's first game for Nashville. So obviously a lot of the players that were acquired were panning out really, really well for their team's first game in. Let's see here. Leipzig must have meant more to Vegas than I thought because they lost 2 straight to Los Angeles. Now he can play in Vancouver. I'll tell you what, I watched the Vegas game last night, and I understand why they're going so hard after Carlson. That defense is so good, but Lucas Spisa, I forget who it was. I think it was Anze Kopitar, got flat out beat by Kopitar. I mean, skated a circle around Spisa. He did not look good in that game for Vegas last night. And I wonder if that was part of their, hey, maybe we should go ahead and up our ante with Erik Karlsson. Uncle Buck, I'm a Van fan. You can have him back. We have plenty of fringe prospects already. Talking about Leipzig. Let Leipzig settle in. He'll marinate a little bit. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Matthew, love the show. Go Bolts from Orlando. Looking forward to tonight's game. I am going to be visiting Orlando, Matthew. I'm wondering if the Orlando Solar Bears are really worth it to go to. I have been to Orlando 57 times in my lifetime, and much like everybody else on the planet, I've never been anywhere in Orlando but Disney World. So I would love to know your thoughts. Even if you want to shoot me a tweet after the show at Hockey Talk Show, love to know what you think about the Solar Bears game. Is it worth it? I got a 2-year-old little guy. He doesn't stick with the games too often, needs a lot of popcorn and pretzels and whatnot. So I'd love to know your thoughts on seeing a Solar Bears game. We want to sneak in a Tampa Bay Lightning game while we're down there in Florida, but I just don't know if that's going to be able to work with our time frame. Chris Wilson, I love that people are completely excited because Nash had a decent game. He's 33 years old and average at best, and the Bruins gave away way too much for him. It's all about the playoff run. Bruins went full in this year, says Danny. They didn't make their team better. They made it worse for a while. Also giving up Vetrano and for a 3rd-round pick was a bad move. Signing Giunta was ridiculous. Signing Giunta was a depth move. What it is, he had a good Olympics. I thought that Boston would have been in play for Jerome McGinley. To be honest with you, I'm surprised Calgary. Nobody really went after Iginla. His time frame just wasn't there. Had he had started his rehab a month earlier, I think that Iginla would have been in play in a bigger way come this NHL trade deadline. But that being said, I agree. And I've talked down about Nash a whole ton. He's looked halfway decent in both of these games so far for the Boston Bruins. He has. Obviously, last night was a bit of a better game. He scored a goal. But Wingles stole the show, really, when you think about it. And all things considering, I thought Nash, again, residual effect, halo effect, they call it. You do something good, it creates this halo effect. I think that's kind of what we have here. I in no way expect Rick Nash to turn up the heat and put in another 20 goals before the end of the season. And I am skeptical about his playoff performance. But that being said, I think it's a boost to the team, especially a team that just lost Patrice Bergeron, who I love so much. There is nothing not to love about 37's game. He's phenomenal. I don't like Brad Marchand, and I think that Patrice Bergeron is the solid leader on that team with Pasternak. That line with Brad Marchand's been phenomenal, and you're a little worrisome with him not being in there now. So I think Nash can give them the boost confidence-wise, and also get to a point where he'll be okay. And really, how much do you need him to be up there and giving the team a boost when Tommy Wingles is literally putting everything in the net? I mean, literally putting everything in the net. Louis, no one likes Marchand. Nobody really does. The people in Boston do, I'm sure. Liz, Nash hasn't been clutch in the playoffs. Maybe Boston will get lucky, but I wouldn't count on it. They're probably putting a bunch of 4-leaf clovers all up in his locker room. Get them 4-leaf clovers off of the Celtics jerseys and rub Nash's locker, whatever you got to do. I agree with Uncle Buck. Giunta signing is risk-free, totally risk-free. Said the same thing about Iginla. Like, who cares if it doesn't work out? It's not that big of a deal. Let's go to the save. Great, like craziest save. You talk about hustle. You got to give Rick Nash this. My man hustled on this play. But was it actually a save? This is to be debated. Let's break it down. Let's take a look at it. Game last night. Here it is. Carolina and Boston. We'll let it play out here. We'll reverse it. We'll slow it down. We'll take a look at it from a whole bunch of angles. But here's the move. You can see Rask is down, Slavin with the shot. Okay, watch right over here. It'll circle up. Watch right over here. Here comes Nash in. You could already see with his stick. Puck is already past Tuukka Rask. Slavin over here. You can't see it, but drooling. Mouth open. Oh my God, I'm scoring a goal. Look at that save. Off the post and out. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Rick Nash diving in. Holy cowbells. Holy cowbells. Look at it. Oh my God, what a save. What a save. That's hustle. I don't care who you are. I do not care who you are. That is a crazy, insane save. Insane. That is hustle. To drive that hard. I mean, if you've ever played hockey or skated for that matter, you know how big of a deal momentum is. To drive that hard to the net and have the touch to keep that puck out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But was it a save? Let's look again. I've gone back and forth on this. Let's look again. We'll pause it. Here comes the puck. Oh my goodness, right there. Let's back it up right here. Now, I've looked at this a million ways. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is that a save or not? Is that a save or not? Because if you look really close at it, I can see, here's my initial thoughts. My initial thought was, that's a save. And then I looked at it and I went, wait a second, I can see white in between the puck and the red line. That's a goal. And then my third thought on all of this, was, hang on a second. Even though I can see the puck, even though I can see white in between, the puck is on an angle, right? Look at it. The puck is tilted up. Puck is not laying flat. And the reason why I think it's no goal is because if the puck is on an angle and the camera is up high on that angle and you're looking down on it, you would be able to see white in between the red line and the white ice and the puck. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the puck, when you go from an overhead view, has completely crossed and broken that plane. It could still be on the plane. It could still be above the red line, but tilted up ever so slightly so that you would see some white underneath. And that's what I think happened. And that's why I think it's stuck as a no-goal play. Because if you look at it, I mean, it is kind of clear to see. And this might be not the right time to pause it. Let me see if I can drag this up for you here a little bit. Yeah, that might be a better example. I don't know. I think that's a pretty good... I mean, clearly you can see this little sliver of white. I'm sorry, Facebook and YouTube only let us broadcast live in 720. So I don't know if this is as crisp on your screen as it is mine. But there's a little smidge of white in there. But again, that puck is on its angle. So I think it's still entirely possible just by the angle. And the angle, the way the camera is looking down, that allows it to put a little bit of white space in there, which may trick your mind and think, oh, I see white, that's a goal. But hang on, if you were to go overhead, does it break that plane? And it might not. And I don't think it does. I don't think it does. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Uncle Buck looks like it might be on the edge. Wow, that's a tough one to call. It is. Louis, my thoughts, the angle of the stick has white tape, giving it the illusion of white all around. Scratch what I said. I'm no geometry genius. Uncle Buck, some David Blaine mind trick. Yeah. That is a David Blaine trick. That really is. I mean, just amazing. Amazing. By a hair. Because it looks like, and you look at it, you go, oh my God, that's out. But look at how, and you could even kind of see it. It doesn't really, I mean, it would be great if that was a little bit more zoomed in, but it really doesn't look like it crosses from that overhead view. And able to keep it out and everything. And by the way, look at Slavin in this after taking the shot. Look at him. He tries to follow up, gives a swipe at it, but I think he's kind of more in amazement than anything else. His swipe is like reactionary. It's too late. I mean, just insanity. Insanity. Craziest save ever. And I went back and forth on it a bunch, but I got to say, I think it was a save. I think it really was a pretty good save. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So, I mean, you know, say what you will about Rick Nash, and they're all valid points, but he might have paid dividends from that and that alone. We've got some new sightings here. Let's take a look around the league at some of our new players and where they wound up. This was a little surprising to me. Thomas Tatar wearing number 90 for the Vegas Golden Knights. He was what, 27 or 21 in Detroit? I scoured the world to figure out why he's wearing number 90, and it might have even come out. And Louis, maybe you know. I'd love to get your Vegas insight on this. I don't know why he went from 21 or 27 to 90, but wearing 90 for the Vegas Golden Knights. Kind of a crazy number leap. I am definitely one of these people. He wore 21 originally. All right, thanks, Lou. I'm definitely one of these people that obsesses over numbers and how they pick them. You know, and why they pick them. Yeah, 21 is taken. I should have mentioned that. 21 is taken. That's a good point. 21 is taken, so it's not like he just abandoned the number. But I'm curious to why he wound up at 90. And I got an answer from Danny. Danny gets Danny Golden Hockey Talk Show star for you, my friend. Birth year of Tatar is 1990. He said that's why he picked it. All right, there we go. I'm fascinated by numbers. I'm so fascinated by numbers. Like, I always want to know why. And it's like, that's not a great reason, but it's good enough for me. I feel good now. I feel satisfied. I always get crazy about some of these players that go to teams or, you know, they go somewhere and they're like, what number you're going to wear? And they're like, I don't know. You know, like, they're like, why do you wear that number? And they go, the equipment guy gave it to me. I'm like, what? The what? I've played on low-level beer league club teams and have literally like stormed out of the locker room being like, if I can't get my number, I'm not playing on this team. I mean, like, super obsessed with a number, like insanely obsessed, which is kind of funny because I got my number by accident. I got my number when I played hockey in high school, and it was the only number left that I liked. So it was kind of by default how I got it. The first number I got, I hated. And then I found out the second number was available. And I was like, all right, I'll definitely take that. And that's kind of been my number my whole life. So that was like a little bit of an accident. But part of it was a number that I always loved but prior to that. But these guys that act like, nah, number's not a big deal, it drives me insane because I'm like, I obsess about numbers. That's all I think about is why is that guy wearing that number? You know? That's all I think about. So the Tatar thing, I was like looking around and I didn't see where or why. But I was obsessed over that. I also do obsess over seeing players in their different uniforms. So it's kind of like jaw-dropping for me to see Thomas Tatar's name on the back of a Vegas Golden Knights jersey. It was kind of crazy seeing Reeves' number on the back of a jersey, too. Danny, always been 18 or 15, high school and currently college club hockey. No reason why. I just like it. Yeah, sometimes there's not a reason why, but that affinity for, I'll take this number or I'll take that number. The guys who just go, meh, whatever. I'm just like fascinated by that outlook because I can't even comprehend that. I just can't even comprehend that. Louis, my number is 7 or 77. See, that was my number. My number was always 7. I obsessed over 7 from when I was a kid. I always just liked 7. Lucky sevens. It was always that kind of a thing. And then the first time I got my name put on the back of the jersey, I picked 77 literally because I was like, if I'm paying this much to have my name on a jersey, I want 2 numbers. Because back in the day, it was like $150 to get your name put on a jersey. And that wasn't even like stitched. That was like the awful, like pressed on numbers that eventually always fell apart anyway, you know? So that's literally how I came across 77. And then when I went to high school to play, I was sick the day they were handing out jerseys, and I was devastated because I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get my number 7. And I didn't get it. And a senior took it. And so I got stuck with number 8. I was so depressed. They were like, here. And I was like, oh, this sucks. And I think I said to the coach after the game, I'm like, I know, is this all that there's left? Is number 8? And he's like, let me look at my trunk. He went in his trunk. And my high school coach, by the way, Lou Lamoriello style, 1 to 25, baby, and figure it out. There were no specialty numbers with Coach Rich Rogers. That was it. You had 1 to 25 to figure it the hell out. You could not go above 25. This guy kicked it so old school. We didn't have our names on the back of the jerseys. He wouldn't allow none of that stuff. This guy was Lou Lamoriello and Herb Brooks all rolled into one. And then he looked in his trunk and he's like, I got 17. And I was like, I will take that. Thank you very much. I thought at least I got a 7 in there. And I was happy. 8 never made me happy. Hate that number. I'm shaped like the number 8, so I don't need that on the back of my jersey. Let's see here. Evander, 7 or 97 until McDavid. LOL. 97 was the space number I lived when I was a kid. Yeah. Everybody's got their numbers. Even if you never played hockey, you kind of have that number that you like, your lucky number, your roulette number or whatever it is. That was always the thing. Ranger fans, you might want to look away. I'll certainly understand if you want to turn off the Hockey Talk Show for 2 minutes as we go from Tatar to Ryan McDonough, 27 in blue. How weird is that to look at? It's a little strange, isn't it? It's the best part of a trade, though, is looking at the guys in their other uniforms, except when he was your captain and your whole team is falling apart. And now you got to watch him play. And New York Rangers for the New York Rangers South. It's depressing. I get it. But it looks good. I think JT Miller's wearing 10. I think that's what he wore with the Rangers, right? I think he wore 10. I don't have a look at JT Miller's jersey. Perhaps if he played a little better, I would have tried a little harder. Sorry. But that is completely the truth. So there's a couple of looks at some of the new guys, and I'm sure we'll have some more looks at some of these guys as they get into their new sweaters. Let's see. Where do we want to go from here? Oh, I want to talk about Aaron Dell because not only does he sound like the heir to a computer fortune, but he also happens to play goaltender for the San Jose Sharks, who just acquired Evander I'm a Problem Kane. And by the way, he put up 2 assists last night in the game. Miller was 10. Thanks, Liz. Aaron Dell signs a 2-year extension for the San Jose Sharks. I got to tell you, hate it. Hate the deal. Hate the deal. Don't get it. Hate it. Here's why. For Aaron Dell, I think Aaron Dell should fire his agent. Can we call him Aaron for the rest of this segment? Is everybody okay with that? Aaron should fire his agent. The guy signs for 2 years. What was it? $1.9 million, I think it was. This happened just about 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago, Aaron Dell signs for 2 more years. Now, the San Jose Sharks have, Martin Jones, who's an outstanding goaltender by all means. But so far, in 25 games this season, Aaron is 14-5-3 with a 2.71 goals against average, .912 save percentage. Those are some killer numbers. I get it's only 2 years, but the way the league goes nowadays, I mean, really, everybody overpays. Everybody. So to grab a goalie with those stats at 1.9, under $2 million a year, hell of a deal for the San Jose Sharks. I mean, this kid goes to market this offseason with all the teams desperate for better goaltending, and he would have gotten a lot higher number even if he wasn't going somewhere to be a starter. Even if he wasn't going somewhere to be a starter, he would have gotten more money. So I love his game. I love the back and forth between Marty Jones and him. But in all honesty, I think the kid sold himself short a little bit because he could be making a whole ton more money, and he's not. Now, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he left a lot on the table, intentionally just so he can continue to play in San Jose Maybe he loves the Evander Kane edition. Maybe he thinks this is my ticket, and this is going to be great. And I'll flourish here. I'll win a cup. We'll get on a run. Marty's been, been on. I've gotten into 25 games, so on and so forth. I don't know. But, when you look at it and equate it all together, Thomas Greiss just signed a 3-year extension at $3.3 million. And this Arundel is skating head and shoulders above Thomas Greiss. And I hate to just dump on the Islanders, but that's just the easiest example that I remember. Marty Jones making $3 million this year. He gets the bump up because he signed his extension for next year at $5.7 million. So I totally, from Doug Wilson's and the Sharks' point of view, killer signing because you got him locked up and he's cheap. But, this kid, I think, could have gotten a whole lot more. There's a lot of potential in this kid. I've seen him play a couple of times this season, and I was super, super impressed with him. And I think he could have just gotten a lot more money. 2019 draft, where's that going to be? How about Vancouver? Congratulations to the Vancouver Canucks. They have the 2019 draft. For those of you who do not know, this year's draft, 2018, will be held in Dallas, and the league had to name a 2019 draft, and they go ahead and give it to the Canucks. And there's a reason why, more so than the league just feels entirely bad that they never won a cup after pulling off the massive deal of the century to get the Sedin twins. It's not just because they feel bad that didn't pan out. But as it turns out, 2019 will be the 50th anniversary of Vancouver, and they wanted to put the draft in there so the city and the franchise can be recognized in that. So 2 days for the draft, Friday, June 21st, and Saturday, June 22nd. First round on the first night, rounds 2 through 7 on the second night. 2019 will mark the third time the Canucks and the city of Vancouver have hosted the NHL draft, having previously hosted in 1990 and in 2006. On the selection, Commissioner Gary Bettman said, quote, returning the draft to Vancouver allows the entire NHL family to meaningfully participate in a highlight of the Canucks' 50th anniversary celebration. The 2019 draft will provide another memorable moment for the Canucks and their fans, while shining the spotlight on one of the world's most scenic cities and serving as the starting point for so many NHL careers. It's going to be really nice and very, very scenic. In fact, you'll be able to go like this in Vancouver and go, oh, I could see the Seattle franchise from here. This is great. Everybody's going to love hockey in Seattle now. It's going to be wonderful. Whatever, if Bettman could have put the draft in Seattle in 19, he would have. But I'm sure the folks over there in Vancouver would have been really, really upset with that. So congrats to the Vancouver Canucks for getting that. I want to give a shout out and a little bit of kudos here to the Buffalo Sabres, who after playing down in Florida and seeing and getting a little inspiration from the Florida Panthers, who are honoring Stoneman Douglas High School after the tragedy. The Buffalo Sabres decided to stick the Stoneman Douglas Eagle on their helmet after visiting, and they have kept it on their helmet, and I think will do so for a week or so. So I thought that was a super, super classy move on the part of the Buffalo Sabres. Finally, to wrap things up, and I don't want to spend too much time on this one, because I think there might be a little bit more to devote a show to. So maybe tomorrow, and again, tomorrow we're going to come back and we're going to talk some Seattle hockey. They're starting their ticket drive officially in a big way tomorrow. They got a couple other things with the arena to talk about, which I'm really excited about to get into some of those things. I'm kind of nerdy like that. Again, like seeing a new player in his new destination and his new uniform, seeing a new franchise is like 500 times as exciting for me. But we're also going to go over and look at some of the grades that the general managers got after the trade deadline. And I'm going to devote a fair amount of time to some of the flops. And we've mentioned this: Jim Nill standing put, Garth Snow standing put, Bergevin maybe not getting as much as he can from his franchise. Again, the idea that he's going to go into next season with Pacioretty and Galchenyuk and all these guys who have been rumored to be on the block for the longest time. He's going to give it another go with the same tired lineup. We're going to go over some of these things, but we'll spend a good amount of time on Garth Snow because what went up today here just outside the Barclays Center in New York City were these billboards that these fans of the New York Islanders raised money. We did a whole show on this. If you're new to the program, go to hockeytalkshow.com and see our back catalog. We devoted a whole show to these guys raising money. Remember, they set a goal of $2,600 or $2,500, whatever it was. They reached that goal in 3 short hours. It was ridiculous. They doubled their goal to buy 2 billboards. They reached that shortly thereafter, and they went ahead and they bought 2 billboards. This is billboard number 1, and this is billboard number 2. And so now these sit just outside of the Barclays Center. And as you can see here, it says paid for by Long Island hockey fans. Got the Islanders blue, orange, blue, and white. And their lettering just exactly like the Isles lettering in white with an orange outline. So the reason why I'm putting a hold on this is because we may have a guest to join us to talk about the deadline. Again, I'm not really guest heavy. I like to just kind of interact and talk with you guys. But this might be a special case, and I want to reach out and give the guest enough time. So maybe we will do that on tomorrow's show. I also thought this was kind of cute coming from Twitter. There you go. 2 billboards outside of Barclays Center. Going off of the 3 Billboards movie that's up for the Oscars. So we'll spend some time on that. And it won't be just the drowning out of Islander talk. It'll be, again, we'll get into Nil and the Kings. And I was actually surprised at how many general managers didn't have a press avail after the trade deadline. I mean, shocked. You look at Canada, and every one of these guys had a formal press conference. Worst case scenario, there was a scrum. In some cases, it was a conference call. But for the most part, general managers make themselves available after big events, especially the trade deadline. And for some of these managers not to make themselves available, because there were a number of GMs who didn't sit there and face the press, I thought that was pretty despicable. And I think that should be a mandatory thing that the league instates where, at certain times, the draft, the deadline, the start of the season, general managers should have to make themselves available. That should be a standard thing. The White House does press briefings every day. Now, I get it. Running America, bigger deal than running an NHL team. But still, communication is super important. You want to grow your league. You've got to communicate. You've got to do a good job with that. And the NHL, for the most part, 98% of the time, they do amazing work all around. But to have a trade deadline pass and a general manager not address his team's fans by making himself available to the press is utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous, especially in this day and age where we live, where we don't need newspapers anymore. We don't need radio shows. We don't need television coverage. You can literally take your phone and hold it up to the general manager's face and go on YouTube Live, and you could reach all your fans that way. There is zero excuse on why a franchise's general manager would not sit there and tell their fans what's going on. I don't care if it's cliched. I don't care if there were no deals. It just wasn't right. We didn't get the price, whatever it is. Make yourself available. Every general manager in Canada did it. We saw and we criticized Jason Botterill in Buffalo, but he stood up there and he faced the music. Mark Bergevin, I give him all the credit in the world. His first question was, "Why are you not fired?" That was literally the guy. Have you spoken? Do you know if you're going to be here for the draft? Seriously, that was the first question that he got, and at least he sat there and he faced the music. Letting managers make moves and then not face the music is a little cowardice to me. It's a little cowardice. Be a man. Get up there and do it. Even if you're camera shy, it's a great comment. Some people are camera shy. Cool. Make a conference call. Look, there's several different ways to do this. You can do a formal press conference, which we saw yesterday. They're up at the podium. The backdrop has the logo and a sponsor on it. That's a formal press conference. You want to do a scrum? You're standing outside your office. A couple of newspapers and radio guys get to stand in front of you shine the light, looks terrible, but it's still a press avail. That's fine too. Third worst case scenario, you make yourself available. Everybody calls into a phone number. The manager calls into a phone number and he answers your questions. Okay. So even if you're camera shy, which is totally understandable, you can still sit there and address the moves that you made. To not do it is disgusting, if you ask me, because communication is everything. It's everything. Eddie V, trade deadline is a national holiday in Canada. You know, it's a big deal to a lot of fans. To a lot of fans on both sides, it represents a lot. I know it sucks for Ranger fans, but you know what? It's great because it represents a fresh start for you guys. It's the first step in the right direction. It's the first step to turning that page. So even for those teams that are dumping, it's still exciting. And when you get that guy in there, you know, Islanders made 2 acquisitions yesterday. They weren't huge deals, but they made 2 deals. And Garth Snow spoke to no one. From all I can tell, Jim Nill spoke to no one. Perhaps he did and I missed it. But I'm telling you, the other ones were super easy to find. Those, not so much. And, you know, we talk about the Vegas Golden Knights a ton. Gary Lawless has done a tremendous job being a pipeline of communication between the franchise and the fans. They're on Facebook Live. They're on Twitter. They are interacting all the time. Granted, they have to be because they're growing a fan base out of nothing. But still, I would like to see that sort of urgency and hustle out of every single franchise, including the ones that have been around for 100 years. We'll leave it there. Possible guest on tomorrow's show. I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely talk Seattle and the expansion and how that's going. More highlights in the day's news. As always, share this right now on YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching, hit that share button. Spread it around. Let your hockey friends know there's a place to come and talk hockey each and every single day. Thanks again to the Red Light folks for allowing the show to be in their page. And if you know of another hockey group that you love posting in, post it in there too. Let them know. Let the administrators know, hey, there's this daily thing that we enjoy every day. We'd love to come in and do it. That's how we hooked up the Red Light hockey thing. I was a fan of the group already. I just said to the administrators, hey, can we put the show in here every day? So your fans and my fans have a place to interact and talk hockey. And Dustin and everybody, the whole crew, they were like, yeah, cool, no problem. So if you know a Facebook group or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, post the show in there, spread the word around, and let them know what's up. Joe, last word here. My Flyers didn't make any trades and talk to the media, but you knew Hextall wasn't going to make any deals. That's true, but that's a good point. But Hextall did address the media after the Mrazek deal. So I will give him credit for that. You know, I will give him credit for that. He did step up and say, hey, this is why we got Mrazek, and this is the response. So that is pretty good. By the way, tomorrow, what time we will be on? I am liking these 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock shows. We were started at 5 today, but we did the deadline show at 3, and that was super great. And all the podcast people wrote me, and they were loving the fact that they got the podcast at like 5 or 6 o'clock instead of 8 or 9 o'clock when it usually goes up, because it just takes a while to get the audio up there. So I am leaning towards a 3 or 4 o'clock show every day. If we have a guest and have to knock it down to 6, we'll do that. But we always try and get the show in before 7, before the games start for sure. Speaking of games, Isles in Montreal, give me the New York Islanders. I think Frank or James Wagner, whatever the hell his name is, and Brandon Davidson, all the guys that the Islanders acquired that I had to Google, will give this team a boost that they need. Montreal is a shell of itself. I think the Islanders go in there and make a statement tonight. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning run roughshod over the Buffalo Sabres. Tampa's at home. They got McDonough in the lineup. I think they put up 7 goals tonight, maybe 6. St. Louis over Detroit at home. Even though they don't have Stastny, they're still not as bad as the Detroit Red Wings. Give me Colorado at home against Calgary. Give me the New York Rangers on the road against Vancouver. Late game tonight at 10 o'clock. Do we have a national game? It's St. Louis and Detroit. Ugh, tired of saying St. Louis in the national games. Monetarily, from a national TV standpoint, St. Louis is such a valuable market. That's why they always get time. And they've been traditionally good. But I'm tired of seeing St. Louis on the national games. So there it is. Did I pick all the home teams? I picked all the home teams except for the Rangers. I'll take them as they're on the road against Vancouver. Is it Chris Wagner? I thought it was Fred or Frank. I don't know what it is. I just hope he hits somebody tonight. You know, when you're as, I'm not, this is not a brag, but I literally consume the game so much. I consume the sport a whole hell of a lot. A lot. I watch, I read, I do everything all day long. When you're this knowledgeable and you still have to Google a guy, I mean, that's a rare find. That's a needle in a haystack. That is a needle in a haystack. Eddie V, Buffalo 8, Tampa 1. Now they're just getting outrageous, Eddie. Now the picks are just getting outrageous. Give me all the home teams except for the Rangers on the road. Spread the word, guys. Thanks so much for watching. As always, truly appreciate it. And we'll see you.